computers are really good at storing large amounts of information, and we're going to explain that today using Python's lists. So you could use a replit online, just create a new replit, and then hit Python and then start. And then here's the REPL over here, so you can type in a Python command and then get the results. But I like to use the REPL on my native machine, my Windows machine, because it's a little bit faster for these videos. So if I wanted to store like a grade 1 for a grade book, let's do 85, grade 2, let's do 95, and then grade 3, let's do 75. If I wanted to store all these grades, I could do it this way with new variable names each time. But you can quickly see that as I put more and more items in this big set of variables, it's going to get pretty messy. I'm going to have to manually keep track of what number I'm at. And if I have to remove one, oh, that's going to be horrible. I'm going to have to reassign a bunch of stuff. So really, the better way to do that is to assign one variable name to this list of items. And Python does that really well with what's called a list, funny enough. So the way to declare or to put a value to a list is to create the list using these square brackets and then separate each element, that's what the items inside the list are called, with commas. Okay, so I've got commas there, and now if I check grades, it looks like that. If I did type on grades, it tells me that it is a list. All right, so lists have really, really nice properties. For instance, I could access any element inside the list using what's called an index. So if I said grades at 2, that's how you read that, grades at 2, using these little brackets. That's sort of like saying grade 2 up here. But notice, I'm accessing this 75 instead of this 95. Well, that's because a list starts at 0. So grades at 0 is here, and this is grades at 1. Why does it do that? Well, people who kind of pioneered programming in the early days decided that it's easier to access places in memory starting at 0. So you can consider the index to be sort of an offset from the beginning of the list. So this element right here is offset from the beginning of the list by 0 elements. So it's index 0. Okay, if that's confusing to you, don't worry about it. Just remember to start at 0. So everything starts at 0. I could also change this item here. Let's say I drop that down to 75, and then I check grades right here. By the way, if you're doing this in a script, make sure to do print grades instead of just grades by itself. Otherwise, it won't print what you got. So I drop that down. But I could also say grades at 0 is whatever grades at 0 currently is plus 10. Let's do that. Plus 10. Whoops, I misspelled it. Let me fix that. So now, check on grades, it went back up. So it took whatever it was, added 10 to it, reassigned it to itself, and there it is, just like any other variable. That's how I do that. Let me show you a trick real quick, shorthand. I could do grades at 0 plus equals 10. So what that does is it's actually the equivalent of this statement right here. So it's just saying take whatever's inside grades at 0, add 10 to it, and assign it back to itself. So this is called augmented assignment. So now if I did that and checked on grades, it's going to be up to a 95. So let me drop that back down and show you that you can use that same augmented assignment for any operator, any math operator, and also any value right there pretty much. So grades is now back to where I had it. Okay, in addition to accessing 0, 1, and 2, if I tried to access the index 3, it's going to tell me that my list is out of range. You might be curious, what about the other way? Grades at -1. Well, actually, no, it gets me 75. It gets me the end, the right end. Okay, so negative indexing is not a thing in most languages, but Python decided that it would be helpful. So negative indexing gets me to the end. And I could also go further than -2. I could do -3, that's the beginning. But then if I did grades at -4, it spills off the end. It gives me an index error again. So from the left, it goes 0, 1, 2. From the right, it goes -1, -2, -3. So it's a little bit different. I would probably write that down so you remember it. Okay, the last thing I want to show you in this video is slicing. I could do 0 all the way to -2. That's how you say that. So grades at 0 to 2. But notice that it's not including the 2 position there. So this start is inclusive. The end is exclusive. It's a little hard to remember. I'd write that down too, but I just remember to subtract those 2 values, and that's the length. That's the number of elements in my sliced list.